Hey everybody, this is Arsenal Fan Circle, Season 2, Episode 23. Um, we got a win yesterday. We didn't play well, but the 3 points are important. And we're getting into the stage of the season now for every team where if you're not playing well, you need to maybe pick up the points. And, we're going to get into it about the problems in this team. We're going to talk about that. We're probably going to talk about midfield, everybody's observations, but for me, we didn't move the ball fast enough in midfield, and we actually had misplaced passes. West Ham came with a plan for us, and but we'll get into it. Introductions. Richard from Arsenal TV. Thanks for coming in, Richard.
Yeah, thank you, Ray, for having me on the show, and and hello to everybody else.
Stan the man. Thanks for joining us.
All right, Ray, thanks for having us, and to everyone else out there watching. All right.
And the co-host here, Gunda News, who didn't get caught out by the hour difference over here with me.
Shout out to everybody.
Let's start with you, Mahir. What you think of yesterday's game? We actually had a Saturday game. It was nice to have a Saturday game.
Yeah, it's a nice change up, change scenery. Unfortunately, like I have joined Twitter, guys gave me banter saying you're not really at an event, busy playing with a room full of green screens. You guys can't see my green screen. But luckily enough, I didn't actually miss out on a lot. Although from what I saw through highlights, West Ham had a chance to actually bury it in the first half as tempo and everything was. Even the performance was poor. From what I saw.
Yeah. Stan, what was your overall thoughts about the West Ham game?
Well, it was an early kickoff over here in Vancouver, so it's about 7 o'clock in the morning. So I was up at 6 to get down the pub, and I was a couple of minutes late, so I actually missed the Leno save off of the post. So
yeah, early doors.
And I'm glad I missed that, because if I was sat there and seeing that kind of pressure within the first few minutes, it would have been, watching Arsenal play sometimes, it should come with a public health warning, because sometimes it's heart attack material, right? So I'm glad that I missed that. I didn't have to sit there with my heart pumping. But it was a scruffy game, I mean, just look at the first half. There wasn't really a lot going on. But had Socrates maybe got that early header, and it could have changed the whole complexion. But it was scruffy, but we did what we needed to do to get the 3 points. And right now, winning every game and getting 3 points a game, it's really vital. So fair play. Let's pick the bones out of it.
Yeah, let's do that. Richard, your overall opinion?
For me, it wasn't an overall good performance from us. I think there's only about 3 or 4 standout players that stood out in that whole game, but only 2 players I can pick that actually got man of the match. I think we lacked in movement in terms of getting the ball into the final third. At times, there was a lot of misplaced passing from Xhaka. And I just think, to be fair to West Ham, they came with a plan. They came with a plan to hit us on the counter and to hit us on the front foot, and they've done that. But I think for them was that, if they had a better striker in front of it, I think they would have took their chances no problem.
Yeah.
And I think it shows from that game yesterday why they are in the relegation, because they've got no one that can take their chances when it comes. For us, I think that we sort of sat back. We didn't really try to attack them straight away as we should have done.
Yeah, I think, like you said, I think West Ham came with a plan to counterattack us, but also to stuff up the wings. Their fullbacks and their wingers coming back to help out on the left and right-hand side. And they knew about what Saka had been doing this season in terms of assists. So what we saw, Richard, was Nketiah and Aubameyang starved of possession, and Pepe actually trying to make some things happen at the end of the first half himself. So we weren't able to break through the lines. Our midfield, we were not able to break through the lines and feed our strikers.
If you look at our heat map, it was more or less that all of our passing was all in the midfield. But in terms of in that final third, in that 16-yard box, we just couldn't get nothing in there.
And Stan, we're kind of stuck with the players we have now, especially in midfield. I think Tony had said earlier, he tweeted at the beginning of the season that he thought our back four would be the problem, and it has been for most of the season. But we've kind of shored that up a little bit. But actually, the real problem in this team is the midfield in terms of breaking through the lines, not playing quickly enough. And with the players we have are the players that Arteta has to work with, Stan.
Yeah, he's stuck with what he's got. And I think that the biggest problem with our midfield is that we don't have any variety in the midfield. You know, there are certain traits and attributes that you want in certain midfield players that we just don't have in the players that we have, you know. And I don't know when you want to start talking about, you know, individual players in that midfield, but there needs to be, I feel, at least a good couple of purchases in the summer with players that have certain attributes and traits that we're lacking that need to be brought in. And I mean, social media is a funny place, right? And we're all fans and we all have our eyes and we all see different things. And let's look at, let's look at Danny Ceballos, for example. If you look on social media, on my timeline, it's about 50-50. I've got 50% of people saying that, oh, another great performance by Danny Ceballos. The man was running the midfield. I've got another, on the other side of it, I've got people saying, you know, he put in a good shift, but a lot of his passes in the final third, you know, just did not connect to anybody. And, you know, why is he doing back heels in his own half when we're looking for a goal and we're under pressure? So it all depends on how you want to look at it. You know, is the glass half full or is the glass half empty? You know, but we're all fans, you know, and nobody's right or wrong. And I put out a tweet yesterday and it sort of was along the lines of, you know, if somebody goes online and tweets out that player X, you know, had a really poor game, that's not moaning and that's not whinging. You are allowed to say that you felt a player didn't have a good game. Equally so, if someone else goes online and tweets out that the same player had a great game, then that doesn't necessarily mean that they don't understand football and that they've got shit in their eyes. You know, you can find a middle ground, and you should, and you'd be able to find that middle ground respectfully.
Yeah, and respect each other's opinion
without trying to tear at each other and being a salty, arsehole about it, basically.
Yeah.
So it's all about perspectives, and that's why we come onto places like this to just chat about it. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong.
Well, let's get into Danny Ceballos, and welcome Tina and Tony Turner. Welcome. Danny Ceballos, we're talking about him right now, Tony. I really, really wanted to give him a man of the match rating, but every time he did something right, he was there doing something wrong. So he had a lot of positives and he had a lot of negatives in midfield. We know at this point, we know what we have with Granit Xhaka. I don't think it's getting any better with him, Tony. But what do you think of Danny Ceballos and the game overall, Tony?
I thought he had a mixed performance. I thought he was pretty good to start off with, but with Xhaka and playing with him, it held him back, I think.
Yeah. Mahir, Danny Ceballos, are you keeping track of the Man United City game?
Yeah, we're about to close off the game now. It's still only 1-0, so looks like United are going to get the win.
Looks like United are going to get there, and we'll talk about the teams that are around us and where they're doing in terms of form right now. Rumple Foreskin, thanks for coming in. First half, I nearly fell asleep, but the cold kept me awake, but we got 3 points. We needed a good clear out, and we need investment. I don't think he doesn't think it's going to happen, the investment. And we definitely need investments in midfield, Mahir.
Yeah, you know, if there's anybody that's putting out for another midfield option, which I'm sure everybody would agree with me, our subscribers, and Richard, yourself, Tony, Stan, Ray, even yourself, Let's just go to Watford and give Watford Granit Xhaka and then bring in Decore.
Yeah. I mean, definitely what happened yesterday was very pedestrian. The midfield for me was not working. West Ham did come with a plan, and I think Richard, teams are starting to figure out how we play, and we don't have a lot of variety in our midfield. And to what Stan was saying, so we're going to come up against this probably every game till the end of the season now.
Yeah, we probably will do, and I don't think we need another, a central midfielder. I think that we need another defensive midfielder. Because now we've got Lucas Torreira out injured. Who have we got to come in that is just as good as him? We've got no one. I know Guendouzi could play as a defensive midfielder as well, but I'd rather him not being as a defensive midfielder. So I think the ideal area, really, to be honest, we need 3 players for each position. So you've got one player that's your main starter. The next person is to sub him off. And then the other one is just a bit of rotation. Like if you've got an injury, that person is always there for a backup. And I think that's what Arsenal need to start doing, having 3 players for each position, and then we'll have no worry about players getting injured because we've always got a backup. But for me, midfield and that right back position is now becoming the problem.
Yeah, we have to go there, Stan, with Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Socrates, and Bellerin. So what's your reading of the situation? For me, it looks like curtains for Ainsley Maitland-Niles.
Yeah, I mean, he's not getting anywhere near the team. I don't know if it's a case of that he doesn't train well, because we all know Mikel Arteta's got this big thing about, you're training to play on Saturday, right?
Yeah.
We've also seen Ainsley Maitland-Niles in the past sort of publicly say, well, that's not really my position. Whereas if you look on the other side of it, you've got Saka, who's also doing the same thing. He's a midfielder, winger, if you will, who's playing out of position. He's not saying a word. He's just getting on with it. And there's a big difference there. If you're a young lad and you're playing position A and you're at a team like Arsenal and you're being asked to play in position B, what do you do? If you're a young kid with no experience, you take it and you try and make the best of it, right? You try and work your way into the team any way that you can. And if it means that you've got to play out position, then you do that, and you can only do the best that you can. If it doesn't work out for you in that position, then at least you tried,
Yeah.
But we kind of moved away a little bit. I wanted to go back, if I may. I don't know if that's all right, to Dani Ceballos.
Yeah.
To Dani Ceballos. Because I think yesterday, you could look at that performance yesterday, and if you wanted to, you could sit down with an editing machine and you could put together a reel of all of the good things that he done from yesterday's game.
Yeah.
And it would look quite good, right? Because I'm in the camp of he did put in a hard shift. And he's put in a hard shift in a lot of the games that I've seen. He's not a lazy guy,
No.
I don't know what his I don't know how much ground he covers or mileage he covers, but he does seem to be around the pitch quite a lot and trying to make things happen.
He is a busy player, like Santi, that we've had for the last few years.
Equally, you could sit down with an editing machine and you could put together a reel showing all of the bad things that you done yesterday. And, I said it a few moments ago, it's very naive to start trying to do like cheeky back heels in your own half when you're trying to sniff out a goal and the other team is putting you under pressure in your own half. That's not the thing to do. But
Very dangerous.
I'd like to ask everybody on the panel, if we had to make a decision tomorrow to give Real Madrid, say, 40 to 50 million pounds or euros for Dani Ceballos, would you be behind making that investment?
Yeah, I wouldn't do it just yet. I need to see to the end of the season if he's going to put some decent performances together. But to allocate that amount of money for me, from what we've seen so far, and we haven't seen a whole lot of Dani Ceballos, to be honest and to be fair, I don't think the club should invest in that. Richard?
Do you know what? For me, at the moment, Ceballos, since he's been playing, he's actually put in some really, really good performances. He does remind me of Santi Cazorla, the way he plays, where he tries to come back, retrieve the ball, and move forward to drive forward. And that's what Santi Cazorla used to do. Even the way Santi used to drop his shoulder and run past.
Yes.
So his hold-up play isn't too bad either. I'll give him that. His hold-up play is not too bad. But going to what Stan said, to be honest, yeah, I would actually be all for it because he could be Ozil's replacement. That's the way because if you look at it, if you look at the way Ozil plays and Dani Ceballos, they are very similar in certain, like, how to create chances into that final third. And I just think that Ceballos gives us that little bit more energy to what Ozil does. So it's not so much as having him as a defensive midfielder, but you can sort of look at it as maybe Ozil's replacement if we can't go and get the likes of Grealish or go and get the likes of Maddison, for instance. So that would be another option.
Mahir, I think you want to tell us the update on the score as well. Gunded news. Your mic.
Oh my word, that was so stupid. Okay, Manchester have won the game 2-0. One last goal in the dying minutes. Edison made a mistake and he threw it directly to Scott McTominay, who basically had an open goal. Dani Ceballos, to your point, guys.
So 2-0, right?
Yeah, 2-0. But if you guys see, it's really, honestly, one of the most idiotic things I've seen. To the point of Dani Ceballos, right now I would be with yourself and Richard. I would love to see. I need to see more up until the end of the season whether or not we're going to decide to keep him, because what I do love about him is his energy, in my personal opinion, and most of his passes are forward, quick passes, man, like fluid passes, where in the previous regime or previous batch players we had in the midfield, it was very static. We were playing backwards, sideways football, which is really boring to watch. I can't stand it.
And Mahir, Gunded news, it's still pretty static right now. Yesterday was not very fluid at all in midfield.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about in general and now and in today's time, in the present.
Yeah. Tony,
I would buy him for somewhere between 30 and 35 million pounds. I won't pay any more than that for him. I think he can get out there and help us, and I think he'd be a good signing.
I would definitely need to add to our midfield as well. So I think we're all maybe not against keeping Dani Ceballos, Stan, if he's playing well and he performs till the end of the season.
But Ray, if I'm not mistaken, didn't Xhaka and Ceballos make 80 passes between them during that game in that first half yesterday?
I would believe that.
I think it's
yes.
roughly about 80 passes between them, but yet we lacked the energy in that midfield.
See, here's the thing. I think that the question that I just asked, it's kind of, I think it's actually a moot point whether we want to buy Dani Ceballos or whether you're in the camp where you don't want to buy Dani Ceballos. I think it's a moot point. I don't think Dani Ceballos even wants to start Arsenal. You know, he's only come here to be in the shop window for Real Madrid. That's where his heart lies, from what I can see. He wants to somehow get into a Real Madrid's team. I mean, since he's been with us, he was out with that injury. And you can't play when you're injured. And he was kicking up a fuss. He wanted to go somewhere else. He was like, I can't stay here if I'm not going to get any minutes. So whether we offer the money or not, I don't think Dani Ceballos would even take the offer if we said we'd like you to be permanent. I just don't see it happening.
And you know what, Stan, that might just suit our purposes. We can spend that money more efficiently this season.
Yeah, I think we could.
I think he's too similar to Ozil. I think there's going to be some doubt as to whether Ozil will actually move on this summer. He does have one last year on his contract, so don't be surprised if Ozil will stubbornly stay until the next season rumbles on.
Well, he is, isn't he? He's done that interview. Oh, his agent, Dr. Soga, done that interview just quite recently. And, you know, the headline was, there is no chance that Mesut Ozil will be leaving before the end of his contract, no matter what.
So it's going to rumble on for another 12 months, and we'll be anticipating him leaving in the 2 months after
what I took away from that story just very quickly was that, you know, if, say, Real Madrid turned up tomorrow at Arsenal and said, we want to take Mesut Ozil, and they said to Mesut, look, we'll even give you, you know, game time. We will guarantee you game time every game, but we're only going to pay you 150 grand, Mesut Ozil would probably tell Real Madrid to walk. From what I can see from that article, it's not about the football anymore. It's about accruing a pension so that when his contract does run down, he goes away to Turkey, to the club that he wants to play for free, because they won't be able to afford to pay for him. And it said in the article that they're already planning that. So his future's all mapped out. And, you know, we've got him to the very end.
Yeah, London Old School, thanks for joining us. Once again, can't see Ozil walking away from 350 a week. Easy money, Richard.
Yeah, it is. To be honest, at the moment, I don't think Ozil deserves this money that he's getting. He doesn't deserve it. For me, I'd rather give Aubameyang 300 grand. If he wants it,
you'd have to be
it.
playing every week like Ismail Sarr versus Liverpool. Those type of performances, week in, week out. 3 assists a game, 2 assists a game, maybe a goal here and there, Tony.
Yeah, he's never scored enough goals for me, especially making 350,000 a week.
Yeah. So
the best way to equate it is this, and it only dawned on me a couple of days ago. 350 grand a week is a salary that could be spread out amongst 4 players.
At least 3, yeah.
That's 4 players.
I think, Stan, what took you so long to figure that out? All of us fans have figured that out somewhere over the last 3 years.
Yeah. Well, you know, marijuana is legal in Canada, so that's what I'm going to say.
So you know how long that can stretch, right? 4 years. But West Ham came with the approach. They were actually, Richard, they were quite strong in the opening 15 minutes of the game. And we get off to a slow start. West Ham have a daisy cutter through Bowen, a turnover from Xhaka. Leno has to make a fingertip save, as we said, before he got in the pub and got his order in.
Well, do you know what? Like, I've even said this even on Cannon for the TV as well. That and I've even said it on your channel as well. That you know that Bernd Leno is an underrated goalkeeper. He's so underrated, and I think in the current form that he is in now, he's got to be He's got to be the 3rd best goalkeeper in the league. And that's
maybe even the 2nd right now.
Yeah, that's no disrespect to David De Gea, because David De Gea is a great goalkeeper. But in terms of his current form this season, Leno is outperformed him.
Yeah. And,
you know, if you put a better defence in front of Leno, you think of how many clean sheets he could keep.
Yeah. Stan, in my notes after the 8th minute, I'm saying Socrates is just a functional right back. There's a turnover where we're going forward. Socrates completely leaves, and he's not a right back. He completely leaves the right back area. The ball's played in quickly to Haller, and he should have finished that chance. There's possible suspicion maybe the referee's going to give a penalty, but for me, that's not a penalty.
Yeah, I mean, we just touched on it a moment ago. The situation at right back is a little bit puzzling, but I mean, you know, I don't know whether I said this on the Gooners in Vancouver post-match reaction video. Quick plug. I don't know whether it's a case of you know, Hector Bellerin is not being used from the, you know, for starting games because they're worried about his fitness still. They're trying to ease him back in slowly. And then we're not seeing Ainsley Maitland-Niles anymore. And obviously, I think he's fit, so he's out of Mikel Arteta's mind. But then we have on the other side of it, Socrates, he scored in the last game, you know, almost like a striker's goal. So it's very difficult to take him out of the team. But at the end of the last game, Socrates was very vocal about saying, you know, I need minutes. I need to be guaranteed minutes, or I may have to move on. So is this a case of Bellerin being fit, Ainsley Maitland-Niles being out of favour, having to rely on Socrates, or is it a case of shoehorning senior player into the squad because Mikel Arteta doesn't like to leave senior players out, and he wants to placate Socrates and give him the minutes that he wants? And as I said on the video yesterday, I think it's probably a little from column A and a little from column B. I don't think it's clear cut, But I think all of those elements are somehow playing a part of why we are seeing Sokratis being played in that position. And it's not his position. And I don't blame him. I mean, he's trying hard. He's working hard. You can't deny that. And he scored in the last game. And he was just
very nearly
millimeters, a hair's away from scoring again. And I love it when I love Sokratis, because when that ball went off, when that ball hit the crossbar, he done what I love seeing Sokratis do. You know, when things don't go well for Sokratis, and he does that, and you can see him. You know, he's like praying to the Greek god.
Classic Greek thing, yeah.
You know, why have you forsaken me? The gods have forsaken me. You know, Apollo and Zeus.
Yeah, that was on Stan. That was on 22 minutes. We started to come into the game. We have a corner, a high cross. It breaks to Pepe. He feeds Aubameyang. Aubameyang puts a cross in, and Sokratis' header hits against the crossbar. So at that point, we're starting to get into the game. But my notes also say, Mahir, that our attacks down the left are becoming too obvious. So teams are starting to realize Saka is a hell of a weapon for us.
Yeah, you know, another strategy, we even with us, if we spot a potential weakness in another team, say for instance it being in the left or in the middle or on the right hand side, then you tend to double up on, say for instance, like on the left hand side. So you'll have Saka and you'll have Martinelli, where the two of them are quite electric, and you know they play with everything they've got. So they'll try and nullify the left hand side so we don't use it as often. Or if we do use it as often, it gets found out as, okay, let's nullify that side. So we won't have any threat, you know, coming from the opposition on that side.
Yeah.
Glenn, welcome in. I think I had you backstage. I don't know how long you're waiting. For people who don't know, I can see 5 people backstage, but then the 6th one is just dropping off the screen. So I very often miss the 6th man. It's like a 5-a-side, and you're the sub. So I had to sub you in, Glenn.
Hi, guys.
How's it going?
What's your take on yesterday's game, Glenn?
I'm just pissed off Man U ended up winning that game. I can't believe it. Yesterday's game, I would say, can you guys hear me clearly?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say it was a surprise. The lineup, I expected maybe Lacazette to start ahead of Nketiah. It didn't really turn out how I expected. I expected goals in the game, maybe a 3-2 or something like that. But yet again, as I always say, a poor first half yet again. And that, if you play like that against City, they'll actually score against us 4 or 3 goals again in the first half. And we need to improve in the first half. And in the second half, I think probably the second worst performance under Arteta, because we were lucky to get those 3 points, let's say.
Yeah. Definitely lucky. Tony, first at the end of the first half, Pepe, he's starting to try some things, but it's sort of off script a little bit, because he's trying to force his way through 3 players because they have a low block on the flanks. Pepe works a couple of different things for him. The one where he dribbled through and Nketiah took over from an offside position, and the other one was a similar type of move as well. But that was really our only attacking threat in the first half.
Yeah, we weren't getting more. We were trying to take on too many people.
I really wanted to see Nketiah realize that he was in an offside position, Stan, and maybe that's the next thing that he's got to bring to his game, Eddie Nketiah. Realize when you're offside, have that awareness that Pepe is coming through, and leave that opportunity maybe for Pepe.
Yeah.
He looks like the type of player that's too eager to. He's doing well. I'm not going to criticize him. I think he's doing quite well for the opportunities that he's getting. But I think maybe he's trying a little bit too hard as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And obviously, we are a little bit limited, and obviously it's the way that we set up. But can Eddie Nketiah be a replacement for someone like Danny Welbeck? Because Because of the way Eddie plays his game, I don't ever see him being number 9, first name on the sheet, and he's always going to play up front, because I think that the formation that we play with one striker doesn't suit Eddie's game. I think Eddie is a little bit one-dimensional in what he does, and I think he's better off suited playing it as part of a 2. With someone else, he can to maybe run around Eddie, because Eddie don't really come out of the box very much. And when we're playing with a lone striker, you need to have a striker that's going to be able to pick up the ball, maybe sometimes outside of the box, and come forward with the ball. Whereas Eddie seemed to be quite static in and around the box. But what are you going to do? Because Lacazette just shouldn't be getting the starting place at the moment. And I thought he got that right yesterday. That we spoke a little bit about this in the back room before we started. If you've got someone like Lacazette sat on the bench, if it was me and I'm sitting there watching Eddie Nketiah, in my place, I'd be sat on the bench thinking, I can't wait to get on, because I'm better than this kid. I believe that I am better than this kid. And when I get that chance to come on, I'm going to show the manager that he should be picking me, and I'm going to put one away. And that's what he done yesterday. And he kind of done it as well at the Newcastle game as well. I was surprised to see him given the start after the Newcastle game in the next game. I thought we should keep Lacazette on the bench, let him work his way back into form. And with such a big game coming up with the opposition on Wednesday, maybe it was a case of, well, let's give Eddie, we gave him 60, 70 minutes. We couldn't get a goal out of him, so he brought on Lacazette. Lacazette scored that goal. Imagine if Lacazette had missed that or put that wide. Imagine what would have happened then to his confidence. So it was all up to Lacazette there to tuck that away. And now there's a good shout for maybe Lacazette starting on Wednesday.
That was really, I'm not going to understate it, but I am a little bit, because it was really a training ground finish. You popped the ball up and you put it away in the corner. But let's take care of Rump Forskin's question here. Do you think that we will get rid of Aubameyang in the summer due to wages? I actually think that Lacazette is the player that's probably going to get moved on, and we will somehow be able to work out a deal and keep Aubameyang. But what do I know? Anything could happen this season. Real Madrid could come in for Aubameyang. What's your take on it, Richard?
Well, do you know what? I think Aubameyang loves Arsenal. I think he loves being at the club. He loves the fans and everything else. And I think it's going to be hard if we do get rid of him. It's going to be hard to see him go, because he's got us out of trouble so many times. It's unbelievable. And I think that Aubameyang's been the closest player since Thierry Henry. That's my personal. I think he is. And do you know what's best? What Arsenal need to do is just give Aubameyang the wages that he wants. Give him what he wants. Seriously, because if we're gonna get rid of him and he goes in the summer, how do you know if the owners are going to invest that money into getting another striker that can produce 30, 40 goals per season? So it's a risk. It's a massive risk if we get rid of him. If it was me, I'd renew his contract and give him what he wants. Try and convince him. Whatever the circumstances are, try and convince him to stay. If he loves being at the club, then whatever you put in front of him, he's going to sign it. If he really loves the club,
Wait, put the pen behind your words.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like Tony Adams. Yeah, when they put the contract in front of him every time, he didn't even need to read it. He just went and signed it.
Yeah.
So if Aubameyang loves the club as much as he does, he would do exactly the same. So if I was Arsenal, give him what he wants.
What do you think, Stan? Who's going, Aubameyang or Lacazette?
I have to disagree a little bit there with Richard. I don't think Aubameyang does love the club. I think he likes the club. It's a job, right? This is his job. I think he enjoys going to work at the moment. I don't think he loves the club. The kid's not from North London. He's playing for Borussia Dortmund. It's a job to these people. And if Real Madrid comes calling, you got to think of it as your career as a footballer. He's 31 now. If Real Madrid come knocking at the door, or Barcelona come knocking at the door, I mean, I enjoy my job, right? But if Google come ringing me up and say that they want me to work for Google in their plush buildings and their culture and offer me loads of money, I'm off, mate. You know, it's about the Benjamins at the end of the day. And, you know, the guy drives around, he's got 3 cars in his garage. He's got a LaFerrari that's cost £3 million. The man has a life to upkeep, you know. he's got, you know, when them cars need to get serviced, it's going to cost a lot.
I don't think he's short of a few bob, Stan.
I know, but people that ain't short of a few bob, their biggest trait is they want more of it. It's never enough. And we all saw what Pierre Aubameyang was like towards the end of his tenure at Borussia Dortmund. He decided that he wanted to leave. When he made the decision that he wanted to leave, he kind of started throwing his toys out the pram. You know, there were stories that he was being a little bit, you know, of a nuisance in the dressing room. You know, he was showing up when he wanted to. The smile had gone from his face. So I think that we've not seen that yet. But I think that, you know, come the summer, if we try to make it difficult for him to leave, that's the kind of Aubameyang that we will see. Yeah, I think he's gone, and I don't think 300 grand a week is going to be enough to keep him. Because what was the game where he scored that scissor kick? Was it the Everton game?
Scissor kick was the Europa League.
Yeah,
that was against Valencia, second leg.
No,
quite recently.
Olympiacos.
When he scored that sort of sideways scissor kick, you know, in the
Olympiacos.
Yeah.
Olympiacos. Oh yeah.
When Olympia, you saw his face when he scored that goal. He was a happy camper. But when Olympiacos went up the other end and just wiped that goal out by scoring a goal, I saw his face, and I thought to myself right there and then when I looked at his face, I'm like, he's out of here, man. He's thinking to himself, like, you know, what is it that I have to do here at Arsenal? I just provided a game-winning goal, and those dicks at the back can't even keep a goal out when there's a lot of minutes left on the clock. You know, why am I bothering with this? That's what I saw written all over the place.
It's okay, Stan, because we have Pablo Marina, right, Tony? Hey, Mahir. Mahir, you have on the top shelf here, you got 3 different opinions. What's your opinion on Aubameyang? Let's go down to the bottom shelf here.
Okay, if a big enough offer comes in for Aubameyang, I think he will go in terms of career, winning trophies, etc. And you could look at it in 3 ways, though. You could sell Aubameyang and invest the money, which I don't think the board are going to do, considering they could have done this a long time ago, invested good money in our defense, etc., etc. Yeah, man, like, I honestly, if you ask me, who I'd personally sell, it would probably be Lacazette. As much as I love the players, we need a total rebuild. We need a totally new defense.
Yeah, he's coming at Lacazette for me is coming under a lot of pressure from the younger players that are trying to take that mantle from him. And, you know, to his credit, he's stepping up, Tony. He's doing what he needs to do. He's scoring goals. He's making himself maybe unpickable a little bit, or maybe undroppable instead of unpickable. But what do you think about Lacazette, Oba? Am I here?
Sorry, I just want to mention one more thing. Why has Martinelli been blocked? What's going on there?
I personally think that Arteta is cycling these players out because he really wants to take a good look at all of his squad for the whole of this season. He's cycling these players out. He's looking at their reactions to when they're being dropped, how they're going to train, how they're going to react to that situation. Because we have a lot of young players by here, and he wants to see their reactions. So basically, everything he's doing is for next season, and trying to get the best league position as well. But Martinelli will have his time again. Tony, Lacazette, Aubameyang, all of that good stuff.
I think Lacazette goes. I think he has more hunger and cares more about winning trophies than Uba does. Uba cares more about his toys.
For who would you sell if you had to sell one of them?
Uba.
Okay, you get all that money and reinvest it, hopefully, and not go to KSC. Not go to the coffers of KSC in LA. Glenn,
I thought you said he was going to take all that money and go to KFC.
Maybe a couple of pieces of chicken as well.
Got the barbecue kids.
Glenn, what would you do with what's going to happen in the summer? Aubameyang, Lacazette.
For me, I would try my best to keep both of them. But if I was to choose one, I'd say Lacazette, because I feel like the time we had to sell Van Persie and other players didn't even want to stay, and even as fans, we were thinking about why are we even supporting Arsenal. I feel like Aubameyang leaving Arsenal right now will just cause some terrible stuff in the club. I mean, the fans will turn on the club. Even some of the players, maybe the likes of Pepe and Lacazette, will be like, wow, what are we doing here? We can also leave. So I feel like we have to try and keep both of them. And also another thing, they are the only players who actually score goals for us. I know Lacazette hasn't scored for a while, but our midfielders never chip in with goals, the likes of Ceballos, Ozil. We have no other style of play. So we really have to convince those players to stay unless we have a really good plan to go ahead.
Richard, I see you probably shaking your head there. No, not in your head. And I know you got to go soon. So a question for you. Are we approaching another situation with Ozil and Sanchez like we had a few years ago when we come to Aubameyang or Lacazette?
It's a possibility that we are, but it depends on the club what right move that they're going to make. It's down to the choices they're going to take.
Will they do what Liverpool did? Let's follow the Liverpool model and sacrifice one of our players, get some cash in, and reinvest it.
It's a possibility, but do you trust the ball to do that?
No, not right now. But we have to be that self-sustaining model.
If we sold Aubameyang, and then you got to think, right, what are we going to do with that money? Are we going to go invest in another defensive midfielder? Are we going to get a centre back? We do definitely need another centre back and another right back. That's three players from that money. If it was me, I'd rather sell Ozil. If it was me, then sell Aubameyang and Lacazette. I'd rather just sell Ozil.
Yeah, but that's
as Stan
proven.
said, you can go and get 4 players with that, and then we would be able to go and get the centre back. We'll be able to go and get another defensive midfielder. We'll be able to go and get another right back. So, what if we? At the moment, I think that Aubameyang's transfer market value is 63 million pounds, same as Lacazette's.
Yep.
So, if we're going to sell him, we're probably looking between 80 to 100 mil.
Richard, I think at this point we're not selling Ozil just because we haven't been able to do it in the last 2 seasons. He is that stubborn squatter in the house that you can't get rid of.
Mm. Well, I just think selling Aubameyang would be a massive mistake, because as Glenn said, that the fans will turn on the board. Why are you selling our best striker that's got us out of danger every game we've played? So if it wasn't for Aubameyang, and it wasn't for a Bernd Leno, we would be in relegation.
Yes, no doubt about it. We'd probably be 19th place. I saw a stat somewhere. Sky Sports put up somewhere without Aubameyang. But for me, Lacazette would be the easier sacrificial lamb, let's say, for the board.
Well, I know Atletico Madrid are starting to sniff around for Lacazette, because when we brought him, don't forget, Atletico Madrid had a transfer ban, didn't they? And we managed to get him at the last minute. So, maybe if Atletico Madrid will come for him, maybe Lacazette might go, because that was his first intention anyway.
I would love to include Partey as part of the negotiations there. We'll give you Lacazette if we get Partey. Central defenders, can we all agree maybe Socrates should go at the end of the season?
Yep.
Just Socrates?
No, I'm going to get to the other one, Stan. Richard's thinking about it.
Do you know what? To be honest, I think the players that I would get rid of would be Socrates and Mustafi. But the way Mustafi's been playing recently, I don't know, because he seems to be playing really well under Arteta at the moment.
Who else?
So is David Luiz.
Okay, he's not going to start next season, but who would you let go of then? A Holding or a Chambers?
Holding.
If you got to let
I would personally use one of them as a backup. because you're going to need some rotation during the season.
Yeah, I think we have 6 or 7 already, and we need to lose 2.
And don't forget, we've got William Saliba, who's also
I'm trying to
coming back
in. I'm trying to make space for him, plus 1 new signing.
I would start Saliba. I would start him as from next season. What a player he is.
Yeah. What do you say, Richard? I know you got to go. That's why I'm hanging around with you here. What do you say about people who call other leagues farmer leagues? Like a lot of good talent comes out of France, and it gets called the Farmers League.
Yeah. Well, you think about it. That's where Aubameyang came from. He also came from the French league as well.
Yeah.
Lacazette's come from the French league. Pepe's come from the French league.
Yeah. I think the French league gets a lot of this when it shouldn't,
Yeah. Well, I just think that Arsenal need to make the right choice. And, if they don't make the right choice, then the fans will get onto their back. It will be just like the Robin Van Persie thing and Alexis Sanchez thing all over again. If they make that wrong decision.
Yeah. We seem to stumble into this from every few years. Stan, who would you let go out of our central defenders? Socrates plus 1.
We make the problems for ourselves, right? Because when we bought Socrates from Dortmund, he was getting paid something. He was getting paid 40 bags a week, right? We bring him in and we give him 100 bags a week. That's more than doubled. He's more than doubled his wages. So if we decide that we want to let him go, who's going to realistically pay him what he's on? Is he going to take a decrease in his salary? Who's really going to buy Socrates and give him 100 grand a week? Really?
Yeah.
So we put ourselves in these situations where we find ourselves like stuck with the player, and and again, I know we've talked about Mesut Ozil, but let's say over the last couple of seasons, you can see that some fans are happy, some fans ain't. We had managers coming in, leaving them out of the team. Usually, when that happens around a player, you start to hear stories how other clubs are circling because a player's not, he's unrested at his team. He's not being able to get into the squad. So you hear stories of other teams are interested in maybe coming in and taking him. I've not heard of anyone circling or speaking around Mesut Ozil because we've priced him out of the market. And we do this all of the time. I can cast my mind back to young Denilson. Remember how long it took us to shift him on because his wages were so high for what you would get in return. And as I say, these players, these are jobs to them. These are their jobs. They love their expensive toys. They've probably got, girlfriends that have expensive tastes. You're not just going to take a lower hit to go somewhere and play football week in, week out. You want to keep hold of the money. Case in point, Winston Bogarde at Chelsea. Remember him?
Yeah.
They gave him all that dough. They decided he wasn't part of their plans, and he was quite happy to sit in the reserves and see it out to the very end. And I can see a little bit of that happening at Arsenal. We're a mid-table team that's paying players Champions League wages, and that can't be sustained. So if we don't get into Europe at the end of this season, there's a lot of players that are gonna leave. And I think London Old School said it, hit the nail on the head. If we don't get Champions League, Aubameyang's definitely going to go then. He will definitely go, irrespective of what money we can throw. And how are we going to attract players? I mean, you mentioned Thomas Partey a moment ago.
Just 1 second there, Stan. Richard's got to go now. So just thanks, Richard, for coming in.
Yeah, thank you, Ray, for the invite, and congratulations on passing 200 subscribers as well. So if anyone who's in the live chat, make sure you are subscribing as well. And thank you to everyone as well that's on here as well. And hope you all have a good evening as well.
Cheers, Richard.
I'll give you a shout out at the end, Richard. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Stan, you were talking about Partey.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are like, oh, he's got this buyout clause and it's like 33 million euros. It doesn't work like that. We're not just going to rock up at Real Madrid, give them the cash, and then they're just going to hand us over Thomas Partey and away we go. The player is going to have to want to come to Arsenal. Yeah, it doesn't matter if players have a buyout clause. They still can decide where it is that they're going to apply their trade.
Of course, they have a say in where they're going to go, their destination, right?
And right now, You know, we're not a what's the word I'm looking for? We're not like a delicious prospect for another player. And if we don't get into Europe, okay, and we miss out on Europe, when I say Europe, even the Europa League, someone like an Upamecano, someone like a Partey, why would they come if there are other teams that are circling that are able to offer them those things? Whether they supported Arsenal as a little lad doesn't come into it. This is their jobs. This is their livelihoods.
Yeah, Jalil, thanks for joining us. Basically, Jalil is saying pre-assist for Abba, and he doesn't really play that well on the left. Although he does get his goals, he's better up top. And let's let Martinelli take that left-hand side, you know. And Michael, thanks. The pre-assist again. And you know what, Stan? When Ozil assisted that goal, I thought about you. So, Michael, thanks for coming in. I appreciate you all the way from Scotland. As an Irishman, I love that avatar. And Jalil, if you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing to me. And Michael said, "Evening, lads. You watched that Chelsea game. That wee Billy Gilmour looks class. Does he good for the Scots? He looks good for the Scots. I'm a bit confident on Wednesday after that Man United win." Yeah, let's answer that question. I'm not particularly confident about Manchester City. I think it's pretty much a free hit for us. We can go there and have a go. Thanks, Jalil. I appreciate you. Matt here, what do you think about Manchester City on Wednesday?
I'm not confident. Yes, game in hand.
It's a game in hand, but it's a tough away game for us. And going to a top 6 team, we haven't traditionally done well.
I mean, right now, we've got nothing to lose. I keep saying this. I just want it drilled into everybody that watches minds that we have nothing to lose. Nothing to lose. Now this game in hand, let's just give it everything you've got. You never know what.
Would you be happy, Matt, here if we go for it and lose 4 or 5, 4-2, something like that?
If we can show heart.
Show heart. That's what we're looking at. You're right.
Yeah.
Character.
For a long time it's been that way.
Glenn, what do you think about Wednesday? And then we'll get into the second half of West Ham.
Well, it's after today. They'll be really frustrated, and they're gonna take all the frustration on us. And the first game we played this season, the place where they really dominated us was De Bruyne in the midfield. And De Bruyne will be fresh. I'm sure he'll play that game. And we really have to sort out our midfield in that game. We can't afford to start Ceballos and Ozil. Those people are fighters. The likes of Fernandinho, Rodri, Gundogan, they're all fighters. So if we start the likes of Ozil, we are going to be smashed in that game. So for me, I'd play Luiz in midfield next to Xhaka. That would be my formation in the midfield, just to cover their midfield, because that is where they normally dominate people a lot. So, yeah, a draw for me would be okay, because we can't say, Mahia said we don't have anything to lose. Oh, God, we have a lot to lose. Aubameyang's future at Arsenal is on this game, on this season, and all that.
Not just on this game.
Yeah, exactly. If we lose this game, and we can't say it is a free hit, because Tottenham got something from Man City, Man U got a double against Man City, Liverpool got 3 points against Man City, so we actually remained to get something from Man City. We can't just say it's a free hit. Other teams got something from them.
I firmly agree. I firmly think that, Tony, I'm coming to you next, and you probably know what I'm going to mention next. I think Mikel Arteta will have a plan for Pep. And now Pablo Mari has forced himself into the team. 2 clean sheets, Tony. You can't argue with that. We're starting to look a little bit more defensively sound.
Yeah, but defense is looking better, but I still want to play Luiz with Mari. I just don't like that combo at all with Luiz.
You don't like it, but you can't argue with 2 clean sheets so far.
Yeah, but if Bueno wasn't between us 6 when we had a clean sheet.
How are you feeling for overall for the Manchester City game?
We got to come out and play balls out the whole match, or we're gonna lose. We can't show up like we did.
Like Jaleel has said, go 100% at them. They will be expecting to come attack them. Welcome, Pablo, for joining us. Liking the interaction in the comments section, man, here as well. We're going to do this. I think Mikel must know some weaknesses in Man City, and every time Laporte gets injured, they concede for fun. Saying that they will, so it's kind of 50-50. They will want to destroy us. Wednesday night, Stan.
I think I'm with you on this one, Ray, and I think it's the only small little positive that we can take, because if anyone knows what their weaknesses are and how to undo Man City, then it's got to be the guy that was the assistant manager, right? Who was sat next to Pep, knows all of their secrets. Yeah. So I'm with you. I'm hoping that he knows the secret to unlocking Man City, and that he's going to be telling the team how to do that. But it's no mean task. It's disappointing that they lost today, because they're the wounded animal now, and they don't lose very many games. So again, I'm of the thought that I don't mind us losing. I don't mind Arsenal losing games. It's the manner of the loss that concerns me.
Yeah. And Manchester United, like us, they've reeled off 3 wins in a row. The last 3 games for them. They now play some other teams that are around them. They're going to play Tottenham away from home and Sheffield United at home. So we want to see Man United slow down a little bit now at this point, so we can have an opportunity. I'm seeing Tottenham fade a little bit. In the last 8 games, they've only picked up 8 points in the last 8 games. Sheffield United, Man United, and Wolves remain strong. Chelsea have that lead, but they're starting to drop some points here and there. So it's going to tighten up, but I do see Tottenham dropping below us for the first time in a few years. I think the power shift is coming. Let's get back into the second half then of the West Ham game, unless anyone's got other comments to make about what we've been talking about the last few minutes. All right, silence. Go, Glenn.
For the Man City game, another thing I would say, it is really tough whether to start Lacazette and the likes of Nketiah, because if you're going to play an attacking game or counter-attacking game in that match, I think Martinelli, Aubameyang, and Pepe have to start all of them. And for the midfield, as I've said, no Ozil and no Ceballos. So for me, I think it's looking like someone like Lacazette in midfield or something crazy, or change the formation to a back 5.
I think, Glenn, we're going to see something crazy. I think this is a game that I don't know what you can do with our squad, but I think this is a game you can come up with some weird formation and have specific plans for every player on the pitch to deal with the Manchester City players.
Exactly, and that allows
Don't be surprised if you see something very, very weird when the team sheet comes out on Wednesday. I'll be very interested.
What you mean, like an 8-1-1 formation?
2-1-7, something like that. With the tea lady playing up front.
Yeah. Gunnosaurus at right back.
Yeah. And Lombard Camp, I think you may be right, Lombard Camp. We probably won't be able to beat City, even if they had 9 men. I'm not taking it that we're going to get any points up there. That's my take on it. I think we're going to get burned over. Okay, my notes on the halftime of the West Ham game, just to circle back here. West Ham have been better in quite an even game. They have doubled up on our wings. Pepe has been quite bright. Need to bring Alba and Nketiah into the game. So that's we were all thinking the same thing, right? At halftime. And Nketiah is isolated, Tony, and Alba is not getting any service.
nobody was nervous at all. Want to get out of the midfield at all.
West Ham continued to be dangerous. And I tweeted out after about 75 minutes, Stan, that this game looks like 1-0. Has 1-0 written all over it.
I saw that.
But I just didn't know who was going to score the goal.
Yeah,
I wasn't anyway sure it was going to be Arsenal.
I saw that you put out this has got 1-0 all over it, but I also did note that you didn't commit.
I did not commit because I didn't know who was going to score the goal in the end.
Yeah.
Not here. Okay, so yeah, that was we do make some changes on the 60th minute. Eddie Nketiah comes off and Lacazette comes on, Glenn.
Finally, that's the trick because that was Nketiah's game. They were too physical, and Nketiah is not a strong striker. He's not someone you can depend on. So that looked like a game for Lacazette. So I was happy with the early change, and Lacazette definitely did change the game. Something I would say about that game, I gave Ozil a 7 on my rating, and everyone bashed me for it because I felt like our goal would come from Ozil.
That guy down there.
No one else was looking like they would get us a goal, or at least Ozil was trying. He got a chance, didn't shoot and all. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some people think you're too easy of a rater on player ratings, Glenn.
Especially when you got an 8 at one point.
You do your thing. Everyone's got their own way of rating players as well. Some are harder than the others, right, Tony?
Yep. Glenn had him at an 8 at first, then he dropped him down to a 7.
So, Stan, Lacazette comes on my notes. He's trying to make an impact. He gets a good touch, and then he misplaces a pass. It's kind of like what the team has been doing all game. And Lacazette's not really having an impact in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, he got his goal though. That's the thing for me. And sometimes it can just take a goal to get your confidence back. But yeah, he did have a couple of misplaced passes, and he did still look a little bit off the boil. And it's going to be very interesting to see who starts up front for us on Wednesday, because I haven't got any idea. It really could be Lacazette. It could be Eddie. Maybe he'll shift everything around and move Aubameyang.
I actually think maybe we're going to play 1 up top and 5 in midfield, and Lacazette will be part of the lineup with Aubameyang.
Yeah,
that's my personal feeling. That we'll have to. Lumber Camp makes a really good point. Man United do play really well in these big games. They have the right system to play against the big teams. And we have a really hard run of games. So we'll go through that before we get out of here. Top 4 is about 5% for a Lumber Camp. I would maybe double that to about 10%, our chances of top 4. It's still pretty slim. Let's get to the goal then. It didn't take me long to sort of say that's a goal without even having rose-tinted glasses on. Saka plays the ball inside the Aubameyang blend, and the ball sort of gets blocked. It scoops its way up to Ozil, who creates that assist that Stan loves to hear. And it's like we said, it's a training grounds maneuver here for Lacazette to steer it into.
Yeah, I would say, as I've said, I had Stan say, imagine if Lacazette missed that chance. I felt he got himself in the right position. As a striker should do, that's his job, the way you normally say, Ray. And at least we didn't create a lot of chances, but at least we kept on pushing forward a couple of times. I was never seeing that goal coming because the way we were just playing like around Pepe, then Pepe came off, and then the way Ozil doesn't even shoot the ball. But I was so glad that we still managed to get a goal. They found a way to still disallow that goal. Those officials are just, I don't know what to say about the officials.
They found a way to disallow what goal? The Arsenal goal?
Yeah, they had already disallowed it, the freaking linesman, or lineswoman, I think.
Lineswoman.
Yeah. They had disallowed a goal, a very good goal.
You're talking about the Lacazette goal, which was allowed on VAR, right? I didn't notice that it was disallowed. She had the flag up or whatever.
Yeah, she put the flag up.
Okay, so there was a player in an offside position, but they were not impacting play at all, like last weekend with Gylfi against Man United or wherever that was. For me, the goal was a perfectly good goal. And Stan, how is it taking so long to get these things right on VAR? Just wait. Hopes had said that he was waiting for 5 minutes, and the whole gas of the stadium went out.
It was absolutely ridiculous, right? This is what I take away from that, right? They did not want us to have that goal. And I'm totally on board now with this conspiracy theory that they're out to get us. Because you look at, let's talk about this, right? Just a little bit before that, right? Lacazette's getting held by, I can't remember the name of their player. He's running into the box. The guy starts holding him from outside of the box. He's all over him. He may as well just jumped on his back and asked for a piggyback into the penalty box, right? And I didn't see it the first time round. And when they went back and done the replay, everyone in the pub was like, "Are you having a laugh?" And we shared a pub with Celtic Supporters Club. And they were a few tables away watching their game. And how long did it take VAR to make that decision that that's not a penalty? All of a few seconds. Seconds. And even the Celtic boys were going like,
"That's a goal.
That is a penalty all day long."
Yeah.
And then what happens? We're working hard up, and we go up the other end now. We score a perfectly good goal. And that's when excuse my language, I have to say it, this is when all the bullshit started, right? They're bringing up all of the lines. They're spinning the pitch around 380 degrees. They're going to a top vision looking down. At one point, I thought the VAR people were going to get on the blower to Langley, phone the CIA and say, "Listen, can we take control of one of your satellites, your spy satellites?" Why? Arsenal scored a goal and we want to get it offside. And the CIA would be like, "You have full control of our satellites, man. Don't let them have that goal." And then, the guy sat there, right? One of the guys sat there in the VAR caravan, and he's got, when jewelers look at a diamond and have that thing that they put in their eye to look at the diamond. I could imagine that someone was looking at the screen with one of those in, and then his pals next to him going, "Check if their laces are, maybe his shoelaces are offside. You must not give that goal to Arsenal. Do whatever you can. Don't let them have it." And it was ridiculous, man. They are definitely after us, man.
We're going to get into this now, Stan, because I never considered this until you just mentioned it. There was a complete bias against us. But Arsenal fan 8998, thanks for joining us. If you haven't already, consider subscribing. We appreciate you. We've already talked about this, and I think to a man, we don't hold much hope in Arsenal getting anything out of Manchester City. Dude, we all agree with that, right? It's going to be a tough game up there at the Etihad.
Well, not only are we going up against Man City, we're going up against VAR as well. That's the thing, man.
So let's get into it. Mahir, what do you think about this conspiracy theory? Because are we biased? Do we see a lot of things that maybe we don't see with other teams that have gone against us? And Stan is right. They do not call back the game. They do not go back to incidents and look at them. It seems like referees completely diss us and continue running with their arms stretched out, continue to play the game,
It's very easy to become a conspiracy theorist, especially if you support Arsenal. You guys will see, I'm going to leave the video with all the decisions. Stan, Glenn, Tony, you guys will see all the decisions that have gone against us, from red cards that were supposed to be given to opposition players to goals wrongly disallowed, such as I think we're playing Crystal Palace, if I'm not mistaken. £70 in the ball, and they give a foul for Callum Chambers, even though Callum Chambers was the one being fouled by two men. I'm going to show you guys all of that. So, yeah, exactly. These guys have got mental. They've just totally lost the plot. I'm also with Stan, 100% this conspiracy going. because it's not like it was 1 or 2 games. It was maybe 2 handfuls. Like, seriously, guys. Chelsea, Crystal Palace, bloody hell, man. There's a lot of other clubs.
They had the front to put up on the screen on that big VAR board after the Lacazette thing. Nothing, no penalty.
Yeah.
Put it up on and when I saw that flash up on the screen, I was just like, you got some balls, man. You got some balls doing that on live TV. Everyone can see it. And then when I'm sorry to repeat myself, when they were looking at the goal that we did score, everyone in the pub was quiet. You could hear a pin drop, and I couldn't contain myself in a minute. I just blurted out, "They don't want us to have the goal." And everyone at the same time was like, "Yeah, man, they don't.
Straight down. They don't want us to win.
Glenn, what do you think about this conspiracy theory? Are you frozen?
Oh, I also believe in Bigfoot as well, so maybe I'm not the best guy to be talking about conspiracy.
He's making a sandwich. He froze himself there. Tony?
I don't think it's much of a conspiracy when they've cost us 15 points.
It's real.
Yeah, I think the blind woman's ponytail must have been in her eyes to call that an offside to begin with. And I don't see why the referee doesn't go look at the touchline monitor when it takes 5 minutes to make the decision. Why can't he jump in and look instead of waiting on the replay center? I guess they were waiting for stay in satellite view.
Yeah, as Jalil said, it's not only the refs, but it's the pundits as well. There's a huge bias, and maybe we have to suffer, Glenn, because of our history 15, 20 years ago. A lot of these pundits right now suffered at the hands of Henry and Bergkamp and Ian Wright.
You know, the likes of Jermaine Ginas, the Scholes, the Michael Owens. If you actually don't watch a game and listen to their punditry, you think Arsenal are 19th or 20th on the table. The way they make us look like we was bad, like even against Portsmouth. How can Arsenal struggle against a League 2 team? Look at how they're playing. So bad. If it was this was Man City, it would have been 4 goals. Is Arteta making it right? I mean, those commentators, pundits are all just biased against us. And it's not even about being biased for us fans. If it's a red card, I'd say it's a red card. All of us would agree that Aubameyang against Crystal Palace, that was a red card. We'd say, yes, it was a red card. But the way they normally take, if it's an Arsenal penalty, they'll take 10 seconds checking it and say, you know what, that's not a penalty. But if it's Liverpool, they take 3 minutes until they get something to spot and they say that's a penalty. If it's an Arsenal goal, they will take 10 minutes to check it. So definitely something going on.
Yeah, let the lactic acid get into our players' legs and not be able to perform for 20 minutes after that.
Can I just add something very quickly, please, if I may?
Yeah.
When I came in from the pub and my missus was like, how was the game? I was banging on about the VAR thing and I was taking her all the way through it. And my missus said something that was so enlightening me that literally it stopped me in my tracks. I was there banging on about it and I was telling her like,
she's a student of the game, Stan.
Sorry?
Does she know about the game?
Well, she lives with me.
Respectfully, yeah. I've got one that I'm trying to instruct.
But she said something that stopped me in my tracks. I was going on about, I'm surprised I didn't contact NASA to take control of the Hubble's telescope and all of this stuff. And she said to me, you know what it is, right? She says they never liked Wenger, and they must have been so pissed off giving Wenger that golden trophy when you went unbeaten. And I stopped and I went, you might be onto something there. They probably hated having to do that and hand that over and say, that French guy that thinks he knows it all. He does know it all. He got them to go unbeaten. Maybe that's got something to do with it, but there is definitely something against us in the way that they go about decisions. If it's something that's in our favour, they never seem to look at it. They make the decision very, very quickly. But when it's the other way around, man, it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And obvious as well. They said that the reason for bringing in VAR was to make the game better and fairer. It's not making the game better, and where we're concerned, it's definitely not fairer.
No. Well, what's your take on this, Mahir? Pundits in the media commentators alike seem to not like Arsenal, and don't even get me started on the Spuds. They seem to love Tottenham so much.
We've discussed this. I mean, I 1,000,000% agree with Stan when it comes to things, because it's just something against us. Whether it be that they hated Wenger, whether they hated we being the ones to, actually win the league at their grounds, and even biased when it comes to referees and pundits when it comes to the shite, because it's like they've got England's golden boy, and the team is full of English players and they're homebred and all this nonsense, but they've really accomplished nothing. It's just like we're the ones to be hated for no apparent reason. The guys just hate us.
I don't know, Tony.
Another decision was, does anyone remember Aubameyang's goal away to Old Trafford? How was that? The linesman had actually said offside, and it was miles onside. Since that, there was like
And Tony, I just wanted to say, I was singing that this morning. We won the league at Shite Hart Lane. We won the league at Shite Hart Lane. But I want to tell all Gooners out there, we won it twice at Shite Hart Lane. One in most recent memory and one in 71. And Stan, we have, for the leagues that we have won, we've won them at some unique places.
Yeah.
We took it at Old Trafford. We got some very nice history. We won it at Old Trafford. We won it at White Hart Lane. The places you would want to win and take the league trophy.
Liverpool.
89 at Liverpool, yeah.
So, that's what I like about us. When we do win the league, we do it in style. Style.
You might have to wait 18 years for it to happen, but we do it in style. So where's the next place we're going to win the league at?
Stoke City away, hopefully.
Manchester City?
Stoke City.
Stoke City.
Good shout.
We'll bring Aaron Ramsey back on a free, where he actually won't cost anything. And we'll lift the trophy there.
Exactly.
All right, so I think we can all agree, very, very important 3 points secured. Yeah. If we're going to do anything this season in terms of our league position, Glenn, 3 points was massive yesterday.
Yeah, and considering that we didn't expect Man U and Chelsea to win so comfortably today, and they still ended up winning their games 2-0, 4-0. So those 3 points were very important. And as you've said, Man U are playing Tottenham away, Sheffield in the next 2 games, and we have Man City. If we can get even a draw against Man City, then that would put some confidence in the fans and the players. And we have Brighton and the likes of, I think, Southampton after that. So really important 3 points.
Yeah, we ourselves, we've got 3 difficult away games coming up, Stan. Brighton away from home, Southampton away from home, and the big one is City away from home. So what should we be targeting?
It's concerning because the last couple of games that I've watched, yesterday included, are home games. To me, and I'm watching the game, but it looks like we're playing away from home. The last couple of games. So now that we've got this run of away games coming, it's a little worrying for me because we've not looked comfortable at home at all.
Yeah, you're right. Matt here. The next 3 games: Manchester City away from home, Brighton away, and Southampton away. We've had 3 games at home. We got 9 points. We won at 9 points. What are we going to get from those 3 games?
I'm praying for 7 points. I'm praying for a result against Manchester
Let's be realistic. Let's be realistic.
And one last thing is, do you guys know, right? We are 3 points. If we take a win, for example, at Man City, we can jump the table up to 6, 2 points behind Manchester United. But in order to do this, we would have to beat Manchester City 3-0 with a clean sheet.
What are the chances of that happening?
No, I'm just saying, I know it's like a 0.5% chance, but why I was saying we've got nothing to lose, but I understand you, Glenn. We've got everything to lose at the same time. You just go out there and play till there's blood in your shoes. You see this? There should be filled with blood when you take it off. You understand?
Their defense is definitely shaky. So if Aubameyang and Lacazette are serious and played in the correct positions, then we can get something. And if Pepe doesn't dwell on the ball too.
Can I ask you a question there, Glenn? You said about Aubameyang being played in his correct position. Could you expand on that, please?
For me, against Man City, I'd go for a 3-5-2 and have both Aubameyang and Lacazette in the middle. I know Aubameyang normally defends a bit well these days, but I think having him on the left or on the right takes a lot away from his game. So I'd change the formation for that game and play both of them as the front two.
I'd like to see us play with a two. I thought you meant, keeping the same formation, but just moving Aubameyang centrally. I've actually changed my mind about in the same formation. I don't want to see Aubameyang centrally. I think he works better out on the wing. It's a little bit like looking at Liverpool and seeing what Mane does and Salah does, and then you've got Firmino in the middle that doesn't really play with a lot of goals. He's doing something a little bit different because I think the game has changed. But the formation that you just said there, I'd like to see that. I'd like to see us go with two strikers playing together. We've never really tried it, have we? I mean,
and we want to try it. I would think we should try it at City.
One of the biggest things that I never understood is why we went out and bought two strikers for over £50 million each when we're playing a formation that can only really occupy one of them. It does seem a bit wasteful.
Exactly, because if you play the back three, that also allows, if you're playing with Luis, Socrates, and Mari, that also can allow Luis to go into midfield and switch back to defense, and that allows the likes of Saka and Bellerin to go forward as they like going. So I think that formation would work best for us for that game.
Yeah, I'll be inclined to agree with you.
I took a look at the league table where we were, and the position and points and everything we had up until Arteta joined. And then what we have done since with Arteta, and goals for and goals against per match. So this is what we were doing under Emery and Freddie Ljungberg combined. And I think we all know we've improved slightly since Arteta's come. So before Arteta, with Unai Emery, we were scoring on average 1.33 goals a game, but we were conceding 1.5 goals a game. So we sort of stacked up to have negative goal difference, Glenn, up until that point under Emery and under Arteta. Now, with Arteta, our goals for have been 1.6 a game, and we are conceding less. So you can see definite improvement there. But at what cost is the improvement? So you're going to see what you see from yesterday's game then, right?
Yeah, and as Stan said earlier, that it's the man of the defeat. If you actually play well and lose, that is okay. Because under Emery, we used to concede 30 shots away to Watford. They were bottom of the table. We'd concede 30 shots and take like 3 shots the whole game. If you're conceding 30 shots and taking 30 shots of your own, that is fine, as long as you're also trying. But at least under Arteta, I know the first games under Arteta we struggled for goals. There was a couple of 0-0s, 1-1s, but now at least we can see that we're actually attacking and trying to score goals. And even if we are not like yesterday, we can actually keep a clean sheet. So definite improvement. I don't mind Arteta being at the club. If you had Emery right now, how do you want to know where we would be?
Ljungberg camp, he's been watching Arsenal since 2006, and unfortunately, that's when we've just become year on year an average team, Tony. We still grabbed a few cups here and there, but you want to be involved in the leagues, and we want to get back to that part of football here. So I want to just go through a few comments before we get out of here. I want to thank everyone for joining me today. Mahir, any comments on what you've seen in the last 10 or 15 minutes?
City. The only way Arsenal are going to beat Man City is if they defend properly.
No misplaced passes. You know, we can't do what we did yesterday. Or playing at the back, no high press, be smart and keep the goddamn ball and set pieces. What's that, Tony?
So we got to bench Zaka then. Bench Granite.
Yeah. I think we mentioned already at the start of the show, we have who we have, and we don't have a lot of options in midfield, right?
No, I mean, with Torreira out now as well.
Torreira's out now as well, so it's kind of like you go with what you have.
We're at the stage where we could be recalling Mohamed El Neni back for the end of the season.
Oh my God! No.
Devo 13, thanks for coming in. How do you know Oba doesn't work in the middle? We do. We know he works in the middle. He's a very good striker. I actually think that he's world class. A lot of people will argue that point, you know. Bal O'Shea, thanks for joining us, Bal. We will beat Manchester City. Have faith. I love it. I love the faith. And you know what? I'm not going to stand here and stamp at anyone who think that we're going to go and do that. So let's go for it, I think. Stan, Alba still works left wing, but Martinelli is way better there than Alba. Yeah. And I think Martinelli may actually come back into the team on Wednesday. No, Tony, no.
He's looked gassed. He's looked off the last 3 or 4 matches.
He's freaking 18 years old or whatever. Stan, did he use up all his batteries?
I don't think so. I mean, I think under Mikel Arteta, I think Mikel's used him sparingly. I think there's probably even an argument that there have been times when he's been used far too sparingly. I don't understand why we have him on the bench, and he's obviously an attacking threat, and then we'll go late in the game and we may be searching to get a win, and he's going to brings on a Joe Willock rather than a Martinelli, rather than another goal threat, you know. And I don't want to be critical of Mikel Arteta, but I just hope that this is part of his learning curve, that he's making some mistakes. I do believe the times that he brings players on, some of the substitutions that he makes, depending on where we are in the game, and he's getting, I think he does get a bit of a pass because we all love Mikel. We all want him to do well. You know, after what we've all just been through with Unai Emery, we're trying to find a breath of fresh air and the positive things out of it.
Yeah.
But I really do hope that he's learning from what he's doing, and I don't want to see next season the same mistakes, because then that will just tell me that he's a stubborn chap then, and he's got principles that he's going to stick to no matter what. And I think that's what undid Unai Emery, not being flexible enough in his approach,
not being what's the word? You want to be decisive.
Yeah.
So to Lundberg Camp's question, is he going to get that mean streak in him and get rid of these type of players? Every time we get close, we buy Xhaka and Mustafi. So Stan, this summer, we have to get serious and get rid of some of these players.
We have to get rid of some of these players, but I'm at this stage now where I think if we don't qualify for European competition, you know, someone like Thomas Partey, someone like Dayot Upamecano, why are they going to come to Arsenal?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we are a big club with a reputation, but the reputation tank for me is running low, and we're basically on fumes now. We're on fumes and we're moving on. You know, another season like this, and let's say that's compounded out of Europe, and we have the similar season.
And it won't be enough to finish above Tottenham. We have to set our own standards, and they're not standards we should be setting ourselves to. Mayer, what do you think?
Not at all.
We can't look at Tottenham as a standard bearer. Yeah, we need to get above them in the league, Stan, but we got to do our own thing.
I mean, we're living in a world, right, where Arsenal Football Club, 28 games into the season, are below newly promoted Sheffield.
Yeah.
Pinch yourselves, because it's real. That is happening.
Yep. Looking at Sheffield United, they've got a tough schedule coming up. They got to go to Manchester United. They got to play Spurs. They got to play Chelsea, Leicester, and Everton. And they have a lot of games away from home, Glenn.
Yeah, but Sheffield is a really well-oiled machine. They're like wolves, like they are not scared of any opponent, home or away. That is why I've never seen what Sheffield losing 3-0 or something. Even away to Liverpool, Man City 2-1. At Arsenal, they got a draw. Chelsea, they got a draw. So don't be surprised if they actually end up losing just one from those games. So we really have to depend on ourselves this season to see how it goes. And as Stan has said, now we become so bad, we are now depending on us falling down. Sheffield is above us. We are starting to celebrate Man U losing, Liverpool losing. So there's a lot to change.
Yeah, we have been so bad that we're looking around the league right now at our neighbors in the table stand, and we're hoping for results. We're hoping for drop points, and we've been getting some of them. To be fair, I think Tottenham, like I said, are going to drop out of this pack, but it's going to be between ourselves, Man United, Sheffield United, and Wolves.
Yeah, and there's a time I was actually looking at the likes of Crystal Palace and Newcastle. I was hoping they don't win their games because those were the team we were competing with like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. So yeah, those teams. As I've said, I'm really sad that Man U and Chelsea won their games because now that makes our job even more harder. And as I've said before, 10 games remaining, we literally have to win 8 or 9 to get top 5.
Wow. I always thought we were going to finish maybe top 6, Tony.
I think 6 is the best we can look for, really.
Our stats yesterday were of the Arteta era, so we're not creating enough going forward. We are a little bit more solid back. Go ahead.
Sorry, pardon me, guys. I have to bounce.
All right. We're finishing up soon anyway.
Yeah, I love being on tonight. I have to bounce. Thank you, Stan, Tony, Glenn. Shout out to you guys. Shout out to all our subscribers. See you guys soon.
Take care, Mahia.
Have a nice, guys.
Here, bro. Jalil makes a good point. David Luiz could actually work in midfield, and that would bring Colonel Mustard maybe into the fold in the center backs alongside. All right, so Stan, do you prefer Mario or Luiz next to Socrates? I don't think I want Socrates as the central defender. I think Arsenal fan 8998. I will. Everyone knows here. I would pair David Luiz and Murray together. Stan,
you're asking me to pick the best out of a bad bunch, aren't you?
Yeah,
really?
That's what we're asking you to do. Yeah. Until next season, we have the Wonder Kid.
None of these guys are like covering themselves in graces, but I mean, looking at Mari. Again, he's kind of, for me, he's in that Danny Ceballos area where I still need to see a little bit more. You know, I still need to see a little bit more. And my worry is with Pablo Mari is that, you know, we've got like 10 games left in the league, right? 38 games, we're on 27, 28 games. He has some good games, and I'm worried that when we get to the end of the season, you know, the people behind the scenes are going to go, yeah, he done all right. Yeah, we don't need to go out and buy out Newperman Karma. We got this guy. Let's just pay the money and keep him. Because we do that. You know, we love to cut a corner. We love to try and find a bargain instead of getting done what needs to get done. And I don't want to see that happen. You know, I don't want to see that. I just don't want to see these cutting corners, right? You know?
And I have a question. What happened to Rob Holding? I never hear anyone mentioning him. I only hear Socrates, Luiz, and Mari.
Just off form.
Is he fit?
Holding.
He played.
Yeah. He's been on the bench.
45 minutes, didn't he? The same time as Pablo Mari, they played. So
has he been playing games in the under 23s or whatnot?
He has.
All right. And you know what, Stan? We're going to see this. We see it with Ainsley Maitland-Niles now. He can't even get into the squad. Arteta is going to start. He's starting to make decisions already on players.
Do you think he's made a decision then already on Rob Holding? I would have thought that he probably hasn't seen enough of him.
Yeah. And Bal, thanks for the info. He is fit and in the under 23s, so he's playing games. I'm hoping they're being more on the cautious side with Rob Holding after having that injury. A lot like Hector Bellerin. It looks like Bellerin's being protected a lot as well.
One player I would say actually the coach has already made a decision on is Maitland-Niles. He is not in Arteta's plans at all.
Arsenal fan 8998. Pepe needs to score goals. He's not doing that. You're telling me. I have a bet with hopes that Pepe will actually score more goals than Lacazette, and I'm 3 goals behind right now. So yeah, I need Pepe to score 5 or 6 more goals before the end of the season.
Yeah,
he doesn't take the shot whenever he needs to do. He cuts in, then cuts back, and then cuts in, cuts back, and then we get a corner.
Glenn, you're on record of saying the same thing as me in that podcast.
Yeah. Pepe will score more goals. Yeah. we never get any penalties.
Doesn't believe.
Any penalties.
We buy Pepe for 72 million. What impact has he actually made? I think he has had a decent impact for his first season. Has he set the world alight? No. Has he completely bombed Stan? No. What do you think on Pepe?
I think he's thinking up the place.
You're making a face like he's thinking up the place.
He's thinking up the place, man. He's very one-dimensional. You know exactly what he's going to do. And if the name of the game was, if the name of the game was holding onto the ball for as long as you can, the guy would be world class. That's his biggest problems. He gets the ball, and then he holds on to it, and he wriggles past a couple of players, but then he thinks, yeah, I'm going to wriggle past a couple more. I'm not done wriggling around yet.
But Dan,
you've done the hard part. Now give it to someone. Let them score.
Yeah. He definitely needs to improve that part of his game. But I think Stan, he's suffering. I've been saying this all season. He's suffering from our midfield. So we're going to come full circle in this podcast. Our midfield is very pedestrian. Doesn't give our forwards the ball quickly enough, and they allow the opposition to get back, especially on the wings. You can see West Ham 2 banks of 4 very tightly around their own penalty area.
I think the problem with Pepe is that when he was playing for Lille, yes, he was on the right-hand side, but he was given a lot more freedom to drift in and spend more time in and around the middle of the park. Yeah. Whereas over with Arsenal, he's being asked to play more as a winger and to hug that touchline and stay out wide and then maybe cut in as it gets into the last quarter. Whereas if you compare him to Reece Nelson is much better at doing that kind of a thing. Reece Nelson is much better to hug the touchline and move the ball up and cross. Whereas Pepe, he gets just past the halfway line, he wants to cut in. He wants to cut in and get himself into the middle. And if he can't bring it onto his left foot, he's stuffed. There is no right foot on the lad, Had he cost us about 35 million, I could probably be a little bit more, give him a little bit more time and a little bit more. We've invested a lot of money in this guy, and at the moment, I actually think that we've overpaid.
Yeah, I think we overpaid. We had a lot of competition. A player that I wanted 10 months before he actually came, or 8 months before he came. So one of the first videos I did was I wanted Pepe at Arsenal. So I'm invested in him more than anyone knows, right, Tony?
Yeah, you have to be hoping on your bit.
Glenn, what do you think about Pepe? Our left side is pretty decent. We've got Saka, Martinelli, even Aubameyang. But our right side is not right at all.
Yeah, Stan said we paid 72 million. We haven't even really paid that money yet anyway.
But we will be.
Yeah, I don't like Pepe on the right because
Neil will get their money. Glenn, Neil will get their money.
For me, for the whole season so far, I think the most you can give him is like a 6 or something. So I don't know if I'm correct with that rating or I'm too high, Tony. Am I too high yet again?
I think you started to temper your scores now. You're going a little bit too low.
For me, I'd try him in behind the striker, so maybe there you can see much. Another thing, I don't like the fact that he can only use his left foot just like Ozil. That's why we're also lacking behind. The likes of De Bruyne can use left, right, it's the same thing, so he needs to work on his right foot too.
How is Bellerin starting over Maitland-Niles? Answer that for Lundberg camp, Glenn. Then I'll come to you, Tony. Tony?
Me? Sorry.
No, Tony.
Teacher's pet, I guess. Like him playing with Bellerin when Arteta playing with him when he was there. It's the only thing I can figure out.
He doesn't like about Ainsley Maitland-Niles, and none of us can put a finger on that.
Well, to answer Lundberg Camp's question, I think it's quite simple. Bellerin's a better player in that position, and I think it's just as simple as that. He understands the position. He has lost a bit of pace, so he's going to have to adjust his game because I think it was like the last game that Bellerin was playing. I think it was it Everton? Did he play for the Everton game? Yeah, in the Everton game, he got up the field, and when he was trying to get back to sort of like chase down one of the Everton players, he really struggled. You know, you could really see that he had lost a little bit of pace. But I'm still happy with Hector Bellerin as a right back for the simple fact is that he understands the position. And you can talk about this, you know, this kind of dovetails of what we were just saying about Nicolas Pepe. One of the biggest problems that Nicolas Pepe is having is that he's not had an opportunity to form a solid partnership with a right back because he's had Socrates in there, he's had Bellerin in there. He may have even had Callum Chambers in there for a couple of games. Ainsley Maitland-Niles. So he's trying to sort of like understand the team himself, and he's always got a different person behind him. And then that person that comes in behind him is trying to understand how Pepe's going to play. And there does seem a little bit of confusion, so much so that Mesut Ozil seems to be spending most of his time out on the right-hand side as well.
Yeah, I think they said on Thursday night, let's look at the players and how they feel about they've been at Arsenal. I'm taking Torreira as an example. Had a great first season, first 2/3 of the season, then got sent off at Spurs in that game and sort of got tired and had it terrible this season. So what the hell would Torreira be thinking about? He didn't have a great season this season. Same things happened with Pepe as well. I just think we don't set our players up on the best foot, Stan.
No, I agree. And I do think there is a good player in there with Nicolas Pepe. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that it was a terrible player and we made a mistake. I can definitely see that there's a good player in there. It's just that we did pay it a little bit too high for him, I think. Even though we didn't pay it all at once, we've committed to the investment. Yeah. So the money does get paid at some point. And I was like you, Ray, when I heard that we was linked with him, I thought, oh, this could be exciting. Don't get me wrong. I've not sat there and watched all of his games when he was playing in France. But, you know, you look at the stats, you know, you look at how many goals does this guy score, how many assists does he make, you know, and there were a lot of big teams who have really, you know, these teams have very good scouts. These scouts know what they're looking at. They know when they're looking at a good player. And for the likes of Man United and some of the other big teams that were linked, they can't all be wrong. Yeah. They can't all be wrong. And maybe it's a case of, you know, the way that he's playing with Arsenal, it does seem to be very different to how he was playing at his previous club. Yeah. So there has to be an adjustment. There has to be an adjustment.
To add to what Stan has said about difference in the teams, when even me, I was really, really thrilled with the signing. I went on YouTube, Googled Nicolas Pepe's goals. He scored a bunch of goals, and all of those goals were like one-on-one against goalkeepers. Yeah. I don't think he's even gotten one chance one-on-one against a goalkeeper this season. He's pushed out on the right. We don't play to his strength. So if he comes to the middle and maybe gets those one-on-one opportunities like Aubameyang got against Everton, then maybe we get the best out of him. But right now, we're definitely not getting the best out of him.
Can I put it to the panel that I'm just thinking about this now? Playing away against Manchester City, he might be a very, very good player to use.
I'm just concerned that if you're up against him if you're on the opposition team, you know that all you've got to do is keep him hugging the touchline and don't let him get himself inside because he's on the right wing, but he hasn't got a right foot. So there's no variety. You're never going to see him take the ball past the player on the right-hand side, run up the touchline, and then bang one into the box. He can't do it. He done a good assist the other day, but he had to really, if you looked at the way he done it, he came inside and then he had to sort of swivel his body so that he could make a scooped left-footed shot because he's left-footed, and then the ball looped over into the box to get into the area. And if that's the only way he's going to do it, he'll get found out. You know what a player can do. You're going to say, okay, if he's going to make a cross, he's got to come in and do a scoop ball with his left foot because he's got nothing on his right. Maybe the answer would be for him and whoever's playing on the left-hand side during games to keep swapping. I mean, can Nicolas Pepe run up the left-hand side on the byline, and is he able to cross a ball in on his favoured left foot?
I was just going to say that the only time we've seen him switch wings was at Crystal Palace away from home when he had that shot that went against the post. Right, Glenn?
Yeah, and that was after Aubameyang's red card. That was the only time he played that position. So I would like them to switch, even with and whoever is playing the number 10, just switch all three of you, just like the way I see the likes of Sterling and Bernardo Silva switching.
I want to see something crazy at Manchester City away from home on Wednesday.
Yeah, and even
something crazy.
Even if he doesn't want to start Lacazette on Nketiah, we can try those front two of Pepe and Aubameyang, and let's see how it goes.
Yeah. Aubameyang, that would really tie up those central defenders, Tony.
I'd like to see Pepe drop back and play as a false nine behind Lacazette and Uba.
Because when you think about it, one of Pepe's better games was away to Liverpool. You know, Jalil, we kind of covered Alba wants 300 a week. Should we offer it? And we talked about Lacazette. We kind of threw him in there as well. Just to reiterate my opinion, we'll go around the panel and get out of here. I would be more inclined to sell Lacazette at this point and keep Aubameyang. I don't want to get into an Ozil situation and pay 300 a week. Would like to keep it at 250 myself. Stan?
If we're going to offer another player around the 300 mark a week, I don't mind that, but it has to be incentivized. Because it really gets on my nerves when you hear players talk about, well, you know, if we ain't got any Champions League season, I'm off. I'm like, the season's not finished yet. Why don't you try?
They're already thinking
Champions League. Yeah, do your bit, score your goals, or do your defending, and then at the end of the season, then say you want to leave because there's no Champions League. Don't start saying it now when there's still an opportunity. That tells me that your mindset, you're already looking somewhere else. There's still a chance that we may qualify for the Europa League. Yeah, so keep your head down and do what you've got to do.
The agents are doing that as well, Stan. Possibly we got Pepe due to our links with some agents now that's coming to the latest thing with Arsenal. Tony, Aubameyang.
For me, it kind of depends who comes knocking at the door, but I want to pay any player over $225,000 a week without incentives added onto it.
Yeah. And Glenn, Dan, did you want to come back?
No, I just wanted to say, I mean, $300,000 a week is Champions League money. That's what you pay players that could have an opportunity of in the Champions League for you. Yeah. We are right now, we're a mid. Let's not pull any punches. It's going to sound harsh.
Mid-table.
We are a mid-table team.
Yeah.
And if we are running a self-sustaining model, we can't sustain players on 350 grand a week. We can't. It's just not doable.
And we're mid-table, hoping to be only top six. I think we'll finish around sixth or fifth if we're lucky.
I also don't want a player to hold the club hostage. Do you know the reason why we signed Ozil or gave Ozil that kind of money? It's because we had lost Sanchez and we were in a desperate situation, and we had to give him. They had to give him to keep the funds on board. So I don't want us to be forced to give Aubameyang that kind of money. Plus, I don't feel like we are. I want him to stay at Arsenal because he enjoys what Arteta has planned, and not because of the money it's being given. I don't want that.
And that's very important. We need our players to buy into the vision of Arteta and see that the club is going in the right direction. I think that we have a great coach in place. What I'm uncertain about is the club in terms of spending the limited amount of resources that we have, that they're going to use that to the best ability that they have. You know, that's what scares me a little bit moving forward. You know, it's hopefully we're on the up though, Stan.
I mean, I was just looking at what Lundberg Camp said. He said no Europa next season would be good. Leicester and City killed the league with none of that sort of like football being played. I'm worried that because of the team that we have, and I think that we really are lacking in quality in a lot of areas, if we don't have European football next season, I'm not sure that the players that we've got have got it in them to get us right up the league. And then if we don't have that European attraction, that could really affect our recruitment of who we're going to be able to bring in. So I hear what Camp's saying, but had we had better players, then we could probably take advantage of not playing European football. But we need to be in it because we are rebuilding right now. Yeah. And Mikel Arteta, this is where we are going to see something in the summer. When we see the sort of players that Mikel Arteta wants, and if the board are going to let him go after players that he wants, or are the board going to go, Mikel, we've just bought this guy, you need to work with this guy.
And I think we're going to find it pretty soon with the Euro 2020s coming down, Stan. We got to do our business early.
Yes. So, yeah, I don't agree with not being in Europe. I think that we're not in a position financially, and as we're doing a rebuild, it's the best way to get some half decent players, right?
It's like a whirlpool, Glenn. We're stuck in this current that is keeping us between 6th and 8th, trying to stay in the Europa League at the best right now this season.
Exactly, and also if we are not in those kind of competitions, those are the kind of competitions we use to nurture most of our young players, the likes of Willock and Martinelli. So that will definitely take something away from them. And you can't say that. I don't know what reason Jumba Camp would give for not being in Europe, because if we actually didn't have the depth of squad, I think we have enough players.
He's saying historically Leicester won the league and Chelsea won the league without European.
Yeah, because you can say maybe we have struggled in the league because our concentration has been in Europe and our players have become fatigued. But no, we've actually been playing different players, so it won't help whether we're in Europe or not to win the Premier League. We can still try and compete even in Europe, even if we're in Europe, yeah.
So I want to make a correction. The Southampton game has been postponed. Our next 3 away games are City and Brighton away from home in the league, and we play Sheffield United in the FA Cup. Tony, any final thoughts?
Our purse strings are to be tight as possible if we don't get into Europe, and we don't have a depth to go on and compete if we don't have the money to bring in the players.
That's the bad news. The good news is we got 3 points yesterday. We move forward. I think City, for me, it's we're not going to maybe get anything up there, but let's have a go. I want to thank Stan and Glenn and Tony for joining me. Appreciate you always. Stan, we can find you on Twitter at Stan the Man, that _ thingy 68.
You can, right? And you can also see the Gooners in Vancouver reaction videos on Cannon Fodder TV.
Yeah, check it out. Got to bring some Celtic fans into the videos as well. That would be fun.
Yeah, I did ask one Celtic. Well, I was talking to him one day about Kieran Tierney, yeah. And I was talking to him, right? And I said that because they're old boys, they're like these old boys that go to watch the Celtic game, right? And I said, "Oh, you got some good things to say. I do these videos, and they go on blah blah blah." And he looked at me and went, "Fuck off." in a Scottish accent.
Tony, we can find you on Twitter.
Fighting Hopes.
Oh, Fighting Hopes on Twitter. You'll find Tony wherever you find Hopes, right?
Yep.
Glenn, you got a YouTube channel as well. Glenn Kitely. Where can we find you?
Yeah, same name at the bottom of the screen. After this, I want to go and record my preview for Man City and Arsenal and take a look at all the previous meetings, which won't be good. So, yeah. make sure you subscribe to that and to your channel too.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me again.
No, thank all of you. And I want to thank everyone in the comment section. They're still here. 7 people. We got up to like 11 today. So pretty active. Lundberg Camp. Appreciate you. Jaleel. Thanks for coming in. London Old School. Arsenal fan 8998. Bal O'Shea. Appreciate you coming in. And all of that. So until next time, let's see what we can do against City. Come on, you Gooners, up the Arsenal. We're out of here. Let's get something that the Etihad, right?
Yep.